Okay, here today with the Chiappa Rhino, and it is Chiappa, not Chiappa. In Italian, if it's C-H-I, you pronounce it Chi, like K-E-Y in English. If it's a C-I, you pronounce it Chi, and you already know this, Chianti. If you're going to have something with your fava beans and somebody's liver, you get a nice Chianti, which is C-H-I, versus a Chianti. So, Chianti Rhino. Anyway. Pick this up, interesting revolver. It has a very low bore axis because it fires out of the bottom cylinder, which means bore axis wise in a semi-auto, this is the Strike 1. It has a very low bore axis, but even this, the bore is about an inch or so over my forearm, whereas with the Rhino, because of where the barrel sits, or the chamber sits for that actually fires, it's actually closer. One of the things the Chiappa Rhino is kind of infamous for, I guess, is light primer strikes. And part of that is due to the fact that it has a really light trigger, all things considered. I'd say about 6 pounds, maybe a little less. So you're not having a huge amount of force that's hitting the primers. The other thing I noticed was the cylinder gap is actually a smidge larger than the cylinder gap on my 45 ACP Webley, which I thought was interesting. It's also much, much larger than the cylinder gap on a pit bull, which you would kind of not be too surprised by because the pit bull doesn't use moon clips, whereas the 45 ACP Webley does use moon clips, and then the Rhino obviously uses moon clips as well. This one is chambered in 9mm. It does have 3 little finger grooves. I've found that for me, just putting my hand more like that and essentially putting my pinky above the bottom finger groove is very comfortable and gives me a very nice grip on the revolver. In terms of reliability, I've only been out here once, shot it 60 times. The only ammunition that it had any issues with at all was this MAXX Tech 124 grain. I think this is made Kami Blocker somewhere in that, I think. There was one round it didn't fire. I went through the cylinder again and it did fire. But all the other 60 rounds were fine. I have 10 different types of ammunition here. When I first did the testing, and the video got screwed up, when I first did the testing on it, instead of this Phoenix arms, which is basically remanufactured ammunition, I had some of those Ruger cupcake looking rounds, the little brown chocolatey looking things, and it did fine with those. It did turn my thumb black. It didn't singe me, didn't burn me. And part of that, again, is when you're holding the Rhino, you don't want to have your thumb there. And actually, let me switch my grip up. You don't want to have your thumb there, as you would in many revolvers or semi-autos, because your gas is escaping right here. And so it made my thumb black, even though I was attempting to remember to curl my thumb down. There were times when it was just kind of hanging out over here, and it turned it black. So to illustrate that today, I brought out a literal white glove. I use these when I'm doing gun cleaning, so that way I don't get oil on the finish right before I stick it back in the safe. So this will really illustrate what that winds up looking like. So 10 different types of ammunition. I'll call them out as I shoot them. First up is Federal Hydroshock. I don't have the box. These are the 147 grain. And on the target, I'm just going to shoot from left to right, starting at the top row, bottom row, and then there's 2 small targets down there at the bottom. And I was already not smart enough to put my thumb where I needed to, and so it's already a little black. That did get a little bit warm, so if I wasn't wearing the glove, maybe I could have singed myself, not sure. So next up, we're going to do that MAXX Tech. This is the only one that had any issues last time I was out. And I'm going to be smart enough to curl my thumb. And failure to fire. So we're going to give that about 10 seconds, and then we'll go around. And that'll be a light primer strike. And God, that's weird, because I'm looking at the top of the cylinder looking for the light primer strike, and it's not there. So I'm going to try to rotate that so it's the next one back in again. And I think that was the round that didn't fire a moment ago. Got another one. Okay. And yep, definitely a light strike. Trying him again. Another light strike. Yep. So, had several light strikes there, and that was with the MAXX Tech 9mm 124 grain. So MAXX Tech, I think I got this at Walmart back when they were still selling that ammunition. So far, that's the only one that's caused any problems. Moving on to Winchester, this is the one I would expect to cause problems. Winchester 9mm 115 grain service grade is what they call it. Yeah, it serves me right. I talk shit about it, and then I shoot a very nice group. So, anyway, this is Phoenix ammunition. This is remanufactured during the panic when I couldn't get ammunition anywhere. They were able to have some available for sale. It was kind of high prices, but their ammunition's always been reliable. We'll see how it does here. Okay, the Phoenix did just fine. So we're moving on to S&B. This is 115 grain, just their cheap stuff. I'm going to shoot at the second row on the left. Next up, Hornady Critical Duty 135 grain Flex Lock. Okay, next up, Hornady Critical Defense FTX Bullet 115 grain. I thought I had 10 different types of ammunition, but it turns out no, I brought 2 of the same. This is that 115 grain, the Winchester again. Did well last time. Well, that group wasn't nearly as good as the first group with that ammunition, but that's me, not the ammunition. This is Sig Sauer 115 grain, and they say muzzle velocity 1185 feet per second. So just their practice stuff. I'm going to shoot at the bottom smaller circle. And last of the 10, well, 9. Although I did shoot the Rugers in the last time I tried this video, so I have tried 10 different types of ammunition through it. This is the Federal Syntech Range 124 grain. The little red ones. And I'll shoot at that bottom right circle. All right, the only thing that gave it any trouble was the MAXX Tech 124 grain, and I think I may have brought the wrong pliers, because I kind of need pliers to get these guys off. They do not like coming off of these moon clips, and I don't have the moon clip tool. Good thing is I'm not a reloader, so I don't have to worry about the cases, but still. I do have a moon clip unloading tool on order. I just wanted to try another 6 rounds of the MAXX Tech and see if it's still a problem. But I think I had 3 that didn't fire today. I had 1 that didn't fire the last session. And so that gives me a total of 4 out of 12 that didn't fire. So safe to say that the revolver is not exactly thrilled with this ammunition, but it's done really well with the others. And you can see, in fact, let me grab these 4 rounds real quick. You can see in terms of accuracy what the pistol is, or what the revolver is capable of here, and to a lesser extent here. You know, a lot of that's just me getting used to the revolver. The trigger does have a little bit of staging, and that staging it caused me a couple of times to think I was firing the revolver, and then it actually didn't fire. So that's kind of a weaker little moon clip. Let me see if I can show that. So, right there, there's a definite wall, and there's a little bit of creep, a little bit more, and there's the actual firing. So it's a little bit stagey. Now you can pull through it very smoothly, but there are a couple of times where it got a little bit, and I thought I was where I needed to be, and then I wasn't, and I still wasn't, and so that may be part of my issue, just getting used to the revolver. Part of it's just me not being the greatest shot of all time. So anyway, this is the MAXX Tech again. I've got 6 more rounds up, and so I'll shoot at whichever target. I'll shoot at that top left one. Light strike. Yep. And let me try to get a close-up on this, just so you can kind of see. This was the last one that fired, and it's just a little bit lighter than the one before it. yeah. I believe that's it. Yep. Alrighty, so definitely avoid this type of ammunition. It's now had 126 rounds put through it. This is the only ammunition that's had light primer strikes. Every other type of ammunition has done just fine. In fact, let me, since I have this one out, and it could just be hard primers. Here's a comparison of a different type of ammunition. The primer strikes are just a little bit deeper here than they are here. So for the white glove test, and I was trying to remember to curl my hand down. I've got powder here where my trigger finger was. I've got some powder back here because my thumb comes around. It's not really close to the cylinder, or the cylinder gap, but it is still sitting there. And so I've got a little bit of powder here. I've got powder here, which is at the back of the bottom of the cylinder. So the backs of the cylinder is where some of the powder is escaping. And then my thumb here, I was trying to make sure I was curling it down. So this is from the back of the cylinder. This is from the front, particularly when I was doing that at first, and then made more of a conscious effort to remember, oh yeah, thumbs down, thumbs down. I'm just so used to thumbs forward that thumbs down is a little bit different. The sights are nice. You got your 2 green dots and you have your red dot. So the sights are really nice, especially on a bright day like today that we have in New Mexico. Overall, it's a pleasant shooting experience. You don't have a lot of recoil. Just be aware that in a range session, you're going to wind up getting a little dirty. So anyway, this is the Chiappa Rhino.